Hey, what's up guys? This is FiddleCubes here, and this is the last video in the tutorial series. This is going to be concluding the game 2048. There will be some follow-up videos for some extra features such as GUI elements and sound, but the main series will be ending in this video, and all we're going to be adding is time. So we're going to be keeping track of how long it takes for you to get to 2048, saving the time, loading the fastest time and whatever. So let's get right into doing that. Oh, and I will also be covering exporting as a jar file. Anyways, let's create some variables. These are all going to be long variables because they hold the most amount. I don't plan on having that much time passed, but just to be safe, why don't we just make them all longs? Now make sure start time is long because this will be in nanoseconds. Everything else will be in milliseconds. And one last thing, you need a string. And this is the formatted time. So basically what we're going to be working on is converting over like 1 billion milliseconds into hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds. So hours, minutes, seconds, and milliseconds. Hours won't be in there by default, but it will be able to handle hours. In other words, when you have hours, it becomes a really long string, and it doesn't look so good. So hours should just be a last resort. It really should only be seconds at first. Minutes should go up to minutes. No one really should take that long. Anyways. Yeah, alright. So continuing where we left off and our create data here and whatever. Let's go ahead and call writer.writeLine or writer.newLine, my bad. This will create a new line for writing, so writer.write. And just for fun, we're going to do blank plus integer.maxValue. So if they don't have a saved data, then we're just going to make their fastest time some ridiculous amount. It's about 560 hours. Yeah, so that's pretty crazy. The reason you don't want to put this to 0 is obviously because no one can beat 0 seconds as their fastest time. You need to put it as something high. Anyways, for this, what we're going to do is say fastest time in milliseconds is long.parseLong reader.readLine. Alright, so it's going to read the next line and it's going to parse it as a long. You could handle values that are really gigantic and you could have days, but typically a 2048 game doesn't go past 30 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on how many breaks you take and if you leave it running. So yeah, this will break if you leave it running for too long, but I'm not planning on having it running for this long. So you can change that if you want. So for setting the high score, we need to create a new line. And first thing we need to do is make sure that the elapsed ms has got to be less than or equal to the fastest, your fastest time, and that you have won the game. So if both those conditions are true, then you obviously just got a new record for how fast you beat the game, and we're going to go ahead and set that to, we're going to reset your high score to the elapsed ms. Else, we're just going to write your fastest time. Alright, that's it for writing the high score there. So all the time is set. Setting time and loading it in, all that's good to go. Now we actually have to get to getting that formatted time. So it's really just one method. It's going to be format time and it's going to return a string. So why don't we put this right here. Private string format time. So this is going to take long of milliseconds. So you get pass in as many milliseconds as you want, and it'll format the time for you. formatted time. Alright, the way I like to do this is basically you get each one. So you start off with hours. Now hours is a bit different than everything else, because if hours is 0, we don't want to draw hours at all. Whereas if minutes are 0, we want to still include minutes. So hours is going to be by default nothing. So what you do is you say int hours equals int the millis, so the milliseconds that you passed in, divided by 3600123. That I may have messed up on. It's basically 3600, because it's 3600 seconds in an hour times 1000, because we're dealing with milliseconds. And what that'll do is, because we're casting to an integer, if it has a decimal, it's just going to chop it off, and we're just going to check, well, if that computed to greater than 1, greater than or equal to 1, then at least 1 hour has passed. We're going to subtract hours times that number. So let's say 2 hours have passed. We're going to subtract 7,200,000 milliseconds. And then we're going to say, well, the hours is greater than 10. Then the format will be like this. It'll be 0 plus the hours. Else, then it's greater than 10 and it's double digit, we can just do blank plus the hours, because it'll be double digit. And at the very end, all you have to say is hour format plus equals a colon. So if the hours is not greater than 1, it'll just be blank. And like I said, when we draw it, no hours. There won't be any placeholder for hours. If it is greater than 1, we're going to set it to appropriate, either 0 plus the hours. I couldn't find a better way to do this, so I'm just going to stick with this. And it's basically the same thing for the minutes and the seconds. So I'm not going to explain much. I'm just going to be me typing. You guys can probably figure it out yourself. Minute format int minutes equals millis divided by 60 seconds in a minute, 1, 2, 3, because we're doing milliseconds. If minutes is less than 10. Oh, my bad. If minutes is greater than or equal to 1, then at least 1 minute has passed, so we're going to subtract. Then what we're going to do is check if minutes is less than 10. If it is, then we know it's single digit, and we have to do minute format equals 0 plus the minutes. Else, we're just going to go ahead and do, let me scroll down here, minute format equals a blank plus the minutes, because it's double digit. Alright, and at the very end, if the minutes is not greater than 1, then the minute format is just going to be 2 zeros. And now you notice that this is different than the hours. The hours, if it wasn't, there's no else to this initial if statement. If it's 0, it's just going to be blank. And this right here, this hour format plus equals this, really should be inside here, because it should only get hit if the hours is greater than 1. It should put a semicolon. If it's not greater than 1, then there shouldn't be any semicolon, because it's just going to be blank. Alright, you can basically just copy this here. Be careful when you copy and paste, because you have to rename everything. Make sure you divide by 1000, because there are 1000 milliseconds in a second. Seconds, 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 second format, seconds, second format. Alright, that should do it for the seconds. And last of all, we're going to do the milliseconds. a little different than everything else because milliseconds has 3 places, and no matter what, you draw the milliseconds. So we're just going to say, well, let's just get the leftover milliseconds no matter what. So if the millis is greater than 99, then it's going to be triple digit. So we don't have to add any zeros. And this should just be millis. Else if the millis is greater than 9, then it's just double digit. So the milli format will equal a 0 plus the millis. Else if millis is greater than 0, so single digit, but not 0, then we're just going to do format equals 2 zeros plus the millis. And you actually just make this an else statement here. Why not? So if it's like, if millis is 0, then it's obviously not greater than 9. It's just going to do 2 zeros plus a 0, which is fine. And at the very end, all we have to do is return, remember that formatted time variable we created all the way up here? We're just going to add some things onto it. So right now it's blank. And that's going to equal the hour format, which could be nothing, plus the minute format, which will be 2 digits no matter what, plus a semicolon, plus the second format, plus a semicolon, keep saying semicolon, it's just normal colon, and milli format. Alright, that'll format everything and create one time. Format. Milli format, we just need a plus sign here. And we're going to return the formatted time. Alright, so this should, if there's no errors, give us the correct formatted time. And now it's time to actually, well, it's time to implement it. Yes, that was a very good pun. Just thought of that on the spot. Anyways, first thing we need to do is update, of course, the time. If you don't update the time, then nothing, it'll just remain 0. So we only want to update if you haven't won and you're not dead. And so we have this variable has started. So if the game has started, then the elapsed ms is going to be equal to system.nanotime minus the start time divided by, I believe, 1 million. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just 100,000 there, because we're getting milliseconds, not seconds. Formatted time will be equal to our method format time elapsed ms. Alright. Otherwise, if the game hasn't started, then the start time is going to be equal to system.nanotime. And just let's go ahead, just to be safe, go to the constructor here and set the start time equal to system.nanotime. Just in case you start the game really fast and for some reason that update call never happens, though it's not really possible. It's just a safe way and I kind of like it there. Now that we're updating the time, that's all good. We only have to do one more thing, and that is draw the actual time. So, drawing. So we're going to draw your current time. So set the color to like something like black. Draw a string. And we're going to say time plus whatever our formatted time is at the position 3090. That can be changed, that's just relative to the screen. Our record is going to be in red, and we're going to have to do the same thing we did with the high score here, except we're going to use the fastest time. So draw string fastest plus the formatted time. Alright, that's the string we're going to draw. we're going to draw it at game.width minus draw utils dot get message width. The message is going to be this. The font is going to be the score font, and the graphics 2D is going to be G. And that should be just about it. And we need a Y value. The Y value, we're going to keep it the same at 90. And make sure you subtract 20 from here, because we want to indent it at least 20. It should look the same as the high score. Now, if all goes well, this should work on the first run, but recently things haven't been working. Alright, blah blah blah. And you notice the fastest time is set to zeros. That is actually because I already have this file created. So let me go ahead and delete that file so it recreates itself properly. Go ahead and go to your workspace. So mine is YouTube 2048. I can show you guys here. Bin, and you see we already have the save data. I'm just going to delete that, and it'll recreate itself with the integer.max value. And it is still not working. So let's see. I'm going to check that out. Oh, of course. My bad. So here you don't want to draw the formatted time, obviously. You want to draw a format time of the fastest millisecond. Alright, so just change that right there. Caught that one pretty fast. And change it over there too. So what I was doing before is I was drawing the same thing here. I was basically drawing the same thing twice. That should be good to go. And that should be like 560 hours. Wow, 596 hours. And there is a 0 at the beginning. Let's go check that out for a moment. Do some debugging on camera, just in case you're interested. If you're not, you can just skip ahead, I guess. Let's just check this out. Hour format equals that. If it's greater than 10, then do 0. Alright, this is the issue right here. I'm saying if it's greater than 10, just do 0 plus. Really, it should be if it's less than 10, then use the 0. If it's greater than 10, then just normally draw it. Alright, well, fix that pretty fast as well. And as you see, this is our time. The reason I have 16 spawning in and 32 is because I was debugging the last video. But whatever. So if we go, and I have 4 spawning in 2, I don't even know what I was doing. Hold on, let me just fix that real quick. Package Explorer. I meant to go to Outline. Spawn random. I'm just trying to find that method. There we go. Let's just change this to 32. So our fastest time will remain as it is, 596 hours. And that's our current time right there. And it will only set if you win. So that's why I have the number set so high. I'm just going to try to win here. Alright, just about there. And just one more moment. Alright, as you see, when I won the game, the time stopped. Now, right now the time won't save, so if you were to X out, it would actually not save. You can add that in if you want. What we're doing right now is just saving when you lose. So let me just lose here, and my best should also save. So best should be 19424, and that will be the time. All saved and good. 19392. Again, this is getting messed up. I don't know why. And the fastest time did save properly. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and export this as a jar. And if all goes well, I'll show you guys how to do it too. and see you guys there. Hey guys, I'm back, and two things. We will be exporting it as a jar, so I'll show you how to do that, even though it's pretty simple, and the fix to the issue. So what was happening is you were checking, okay, so you would do calls method check keys, and let's say you were to hit the left key, and you got one more combination in, and then you died. Then it would, in this method, it would call set high score. It would set the high score, and then this would get hit. So instead, all you have to do is in your check dead function, do this check one more time. Just make sure to see, has your score changed? Alright, it has changed. Alright, so reset the high score, and now the high score will be set properly. If you want to export, all you do is go File. Go to your Package Explorer, right click on your project, Export, click on, go to Java, Runnable Jar, name it whatever you want. I'm just going to name it YouTube 2048. Make sure your start configuration is set to your main method. So if you have multiple projects, make sure it's set properly. The first one should be checked and hit finish. There will be warnings because of some things in the game class that we never got to, which is fine. Now on your desktop, here it is. It's a pretty messy desktop, but it's right over here. If you were to double click it, which is all you need to do, it's going to create that save data folder, remember, right next to your game. So if whatever folder you have this jar in, it's going to create the save data. Because it's fresh, we have this game. If we were to just lose real quick, check to make sure the high score is set properly. Alright, 5312. Fastest time won't get reset, so let's X that out and restart that. 5312, fastest score didn't get set, and if you were, you could go ahead and check that. Yeah. But that is it for this tutorial, guys, and that is it for this series. So hope you guys enjoyed this series. If you did, please leave a like on this video and subscribe if you want to see more videos like these. Again, like I said, there'll be more videos on 2048 and other games I will be creating in the future, so stick around for those. Bye, guys.